Malawi, known as the warm heart of Africa. It's a country of unbelievable beauty, welcoming people and extreme poverty. It's a former UK protectorate. And there are British soldiers here. In the south of Malawi, there's a team of British soldiers doing anti-poaching, but here near Salima, there's a very different task. There's 19 British soldiers here to help train and mentor the Malawi Defence Force. Malawi contributes almost 900 soldiers to the UN peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it's not what you might usually associate with a UN mission. Increasingly, the blue UN helmet offers less protection or immunity than it used to. So that means that on some UN peacekeeping missions, soldiers are fighting in real violent engagements.
We realized that we did not have enough capacity to all of a sudden shift from a traditional peacekeeping and go into an offensive force intervention brigade. So Malawi government did request the British government to have a team from the United Kingdom to train our troops, looking at your previous experiences in other peace support operations.
So why the Democratic Republic of Congo? Who will they be fighting, and why is Britain involved? The DRC's history is dark. It's been exploited and taken advantage of since the colonial era. The Second Congo War between 1998 and 2003 is even known by some as Africa's World War. Why has there been so much fighting? There's no simple catch-all explanation. Greed, race, outside intervention, resources. The Democratic Republic of Congo is one of the biggest countries in Africa, as large as Western Europe. It's also one of the poorest countries in the world. And it's resource-rich. You might think that would be a good thing for the DRC, but in reality, it's in part what's led to its history of war and political struggles. There's been an ongoing conflict or war in the DRC since 2004, and throw into the mix Ebola, and that's the situation that the Malawi Defence Force soldiers are going into in August.
And the conditions that they're living in are incredibly tough and challenging. At the moment, not only are they trying to deal with peace support operations in an incredibly challenging environment, but they're also trying to do that based at the epicenter of the second largest outbreak of Ebola in history. So they're essentially conducting operations with their hands tied behind their back.
This latest fighting is known as the Kivu conflict. The UN has a 21,000-strong force in the area, the largest peacekeeping mission currently in operation. There's thought to be 134 armed groups active in North and South Kivu. It's a complex theatre where the task of keeping peace is difficult, maybe impossible. 173 UN peacekeepers have died on the mission in the DRC, 13 from Malawi.
It's just an incredibly complex scenario that the guys are trying to deal with, and the sort of things the guys are going out and dealing with are sort of fighting patrols against an enemy who has intentions to ambush them, to use human shields.
So in a few months, these soldiers will stick on blue UN helmets and head to the Democratic Republic of Congo on a 12-month tour. In this training serial, British soldiers are teaching jungle warfare, the lesson how to react when contacted and withdraw safely. It's vital training for a force that will almost definitely be involved in firefights in the DRC's thick jungles. And it's training that's been life-saving in the past.
We indeed had an unfortunate incident in DRC where we lost some soldiers and some troops went missing. But through the excellent training which the Gurkhas provided for that particular contingent on a jungle warfare, which for sure includes our navigations and etc., our troops were able to navigate effectively and go back to safe zones.
The UN peacekeeping mission in the DRC has been authorised to use all necessary means to carry out its mandate. The job of peacekeepers there is to protect civilians, humanitarian personnel and human rights defenders under imminent threat of physical violence. That's why one of the main efforts in the DRC will be to engage with civilians and offer support for their problems. To be a group that can be approached, the only group that civilians can come to learn aren't a threat.
We know we're there to help, we know we want to support them, but the DRC has such a long history of conflict and violence that to convince people that we genuinely are there to support them and that we will continue to protect them is extremely challenging.
Civilians in the Kivu province of the DRC face huge problems: rape, gang rape, sexual slavery and mutilation. The only way to help these civilians in any way is by engagement.
The whole point of having these engagement teams is that they take the time to build up relationships with the community. They visit on a regular basis, they get to know the key players in a community, who are the power brokers, who are the people that can make things happen, where are the risks coming from. So by having engagement teams, it gives us the opportunity to reach into and build up relationships and gain trust from those communities that we're most trying to support.
Okay, so back with the British forces in Malawi. They're focusing on getting more women into these engagement teams to help increase the likelihood of civilians coming forward in the DRC. It's an evolution of the female engagement teams that were used by NATO forces in Afghanistan.
The female engagement team out here is really important to the Malawians because when they get deployed out there, there's really serious sexual abuse going on with males and females and children, juveniles. And this engagement team is the first engagement team to have mixed, so it's got males and females involved in it as well.
So what does Britain get from all this?
Sending a team of 19 soldiers from across the army, from the engineers, from the Royal Military Police, from the Royal Artillery, the Intelligence Corps, and a large proportion from the infantry, is an extraordinary opportunity for many of these soldiers to come to Africa, to work with an indigenous force, to help prepare them for one of the most challenging UN operations that exists on the continent.
The DRC is not likely to become stable anytime soon, but the training the British Army provide here in Malawi is helping. It increases the chances of success for the Malawian Defence Force, where their success is measured by individual lives changed and saved. Thanks for watching. If you want to know more about what the British Armed Forces are doing in Malawi, then go to our website forces.net, the link is down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, then be sure to subscribe.